Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something really important, something that many of us experience but might not have the words for. Emotional exhaustion. It's more than just feeling tired. It's a deep bone-deep weariness that can affect every part of your life. So what exactly is emotional exhaustion? Think of it like this. Your emotional resources are like a battery. Every day you use that battery to deal with stress, manage relationships, and handle your responsibilities. But when you're constantly giving out more energy than you're taking in, that battery starts to drain. Eventually it runs flat. That's emotional exhaustion. It's a state of feeling emotionally worn out and drained as a result of accumulated stress from your personal or work life, or a combination of both. It's one of the key signs of burnout, and it can leave you feeling powerless and trapped. But how do you know if what you're feeling is emotional exhaustion? It can be sneaky, creeping up on you slowly. Let's break down some of the most common signs. First, there's the constant feeling of fatigue. This isn't your typical, I didn't sleep well last night tiredness. This is a profound exhaustion that doesn't go away, even after a full night's sleep. You might wake up feeling just as tired as when you went to bed. It's like you're running on empty. And even the smallest tasks feel like climbing a mountain. This physical symptom is often the first red flag that your emotional reserves are depleted. Another major sign is emotional detachment or cynicism. You might start to feel disconnected from your work, your hobbies, and even the people you love. Things that used to bring you joy now feel like a chore. You might find yourself feeling cynical or negative about everything. This is a defense mechanism. Your mind is trying to protect itself from further emotional strain by creating distance. You might feel numb, like you're just going through the motions of life without really feeling anything at all. This is often described as feeling like you're watching your life from outside your own body. Next up is irritability and a short temper. When you're emotionally exhausted, your patience wears incredibly thin. Little things that you'd normally brush off can suddenly make you snap. You might find yourself getting annoyed with your colleagues, your friends, or your family over minor issues. This isn't because you're a bad person. It's because you simply don't have the emotional capacity to handle any additional stress, no matter how small. Your fight or flight response is on high alert, and your fuse is just shorter than usual. You might also experience a significant drop in your motivation and productivity. When you're emotionally drained, it's hard to find the energy to do anything. You might procrastinate on tasks, struggle to concentrate, and find it difficult to start new projects. At work, your performance might suffer. At home, you might let chores pile up. It's not laziness. Your brain and body are signaling that they need a break. The drive you once had seems to have vanished, replaced by a sense of apathy. Physical symptoms are also very common. Emotional stress takes a huge toll on the body. You might experience frequent headaches, muscle tension, stomach problems, or changes in your appetite or sleep patterns. Some people find they can't sleep at all, while others want to sleep all the time. These physical pains are your body's way of shouting that something is wrong. It's a reminder that our mental and physical health are deeply intertwined. Finally, a feeling of hopelessness or dread. You might feel like you're stuck in a rut with no way out. The future can look bleak, and you might feel a sense of dread when you think about going to work or facing the day. This feeling of being trapped and powerless is a hallmark of emotional exhaustion. It can feel like you're carrying a heavy weight on your shoulders, and you can't see a future where that weight is lifted. If any of this sounds familiar, please know that you are not alone and there is hope. Recognizing these signs is the very first step toward healing. So, what can you do about it? How do you start to recharge that emotional battery? Let's talk about some practical, actionable strategies. The first and most crucial step is to acknowledge how you're feeling without judgment.
Right.
It's okay to not be okay. Pushing through and ignoring the signs will only make it worse. Give yourself permission to feel exhausted and to take a step back. Your feelings are valid, and they are important signals from your body and mind. Next, focus on the fundamentals: sleep, nutrition, and movement. I know, it sounds cliché, but these are the pillars of your well-being. Prioritize getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. Create a relaxing bedtime routine, turn off screens, read a book, take a warm bath, pay attention to what you're eating. Fuel your body with nutritious food and try to limit processed foods, sugar, and caffeine, which can mess with your energy levels and mood. And finally, move your body. You don't have to run a marathon. A simple 20-minute walk outside can do wonders. Exercise releases endorphins, which are natural mood boosters, and it helps to reduce stress hormones. One of the most powerful tools against emotional exhaustion is setting boundaries. This is a big one. Often we get exhausted because we're constantly giving to others without refilling our own cup. Learning to say no is not selfish. It's essential for self-preservation. Identify the people, tasks, or situations that drain your energy the most and find ways to limit your exposure to them. This could mean saying no to extra projects at work, limiting time with negative people, or scheduling do not disturb time for yourself each day. Boundaries protect your energy. It's also vital to schedule time for rest and relaxation. Truly schedule it like you would a doctor's appointment. This isn't just about not working. It's about engaging in activities that actively restore your energy. What brings you joy? What makes you feel calm and centered? Maybe it's reading a book, listening to music, spending time in nature, or practicing a hobby. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something you do just for you, with no goal other than to relax and recharge. Practicing mindfulness and meditation can also be incredibly helpful. These practices train your brain to focus on the present moment, which can provide a much-needed break from the cycle of worry and stress. Even just a few minutes a day of deep breathing can help calm your nervous system. You can find thousands of guided meditations for free right here on YouTube or on apps. It's a simple yet powerful way to check in with yourself and reduce feelings of being overwhelmed. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, connect with others. But be intentional about it. Spend time with supportive, positive people who lift you up, not drain you. Talk to a trusted friend, family member, or partner about how you're feeling. Sharing your burden can make it feel so much lighter. And if you feel like you're really struggling and can't manage on your own, please consider seeking professional help. A therapist or counselor can provide you with tools and strategies tailored to your specific situation. There is absolutely no shame in asking for help. It's a sign of strength. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. Recovering from emotional exhaustion is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's about making small, sustainable changes to your lifestyle and mindset. Be patient and compassionate with yourself. Celebrate the small victories. Maybe today you took a 10-minute walk. That's a win. Maybe you said no to something that would have drained you. That's a huge win. Remember, you have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help others. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. You deserve to feel vibrant, engaged, and joyful. By recognizing the signs of emotional exhaustion and taking proactive steps to cope, you can start to recharge your battery and reclaim your life. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope this was helpful. If you've ever experienced emotional exhaustion, feel free to share your journey or any tips you have in the comments below. Let's support each other. Don't forget to like this video if you found it valuable, and subscribe for more content on well-being and personal growth. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Sometimes the hardest part about being emotionally drained isn't the exhaustion itself. It's the fact that no one can see it. You're still functioning. You're still replying. Still showing up. So people assume you're okay. And maybe you've gotten so good at pretending that even you believe it until the quiet moments hit. Maybe at night, when everything slows down, you feel the weight. That heaviness in your chest. That subtle thought, I can't keep doing this forever. And then morning comes and you do it again anyway. You might not realize this, but emotional exhaustion often deepens when it goes unacknowledged. When you constantly override your own limits, your system doesn't get the signal that it's safe to power down. It stays alert. It stays braced. And over time, that quiet bracing becomes your normal. One sign you're still emotionally drained is that rest feels unfamiliar. Even when you have free time, you don't know what to do with it. You reach for your phone, you clean, you organize, you look for something useful. Sitting still feels uncomfortable. That's because when you've lived in survival mode, stillness can feel unsafe. Your nervous system is used to movement, to solving, to anticipating. Here's what psychology says. When we've been under long-term stress, our bodies adapt to a heightened state of arousal. This is sometimes called hypervigilance. Even when the immediate stressor is gone, your body doesn't instantly relax. It needs time and repeated safe experiences to recalibrate. Another subtle sign is emotional sensitivity. You might cry more easily. Or, on the opposite end, you might struggle to cry at all. You might feel hurt by things you would have brushed off before. When your emotional reserves are low, your tolerance narrows. It's not that you're too sensitive, it's that you're depleted. You may also find yourself fantasizing about escape. It's not necessarily in a dramatic way. Small thoughts like, I just want to disappear for a while. I wish I could take a break from my life. I want to go somewhere no one knows me. These thoughts don't mean you hate your life. They often mean you're overwhelmed by the weight of maintaining it. Studies suggest that chronic stress can impact the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, decision-making, and emotional regulation. When that area is fatigued, everything feels harder. Simple choices feel overwhelming. You procrastinate, not because you don't care, but because your brain is overloaded. And then comes the self-criticism. You tell yourself you should be stronger, more disciplined, more grateful. Compare your struggles to others and minimize your own. But here's something important. Emotional exhaustion doesn't require trauma to be valid. It can build slowly, through small daily pressures, through years of being the dependable one, through never fully exhaling. You might not realize this, but constantly suppressing your needs teaches your brain that your feelings are not a priority. Over time, you may even struggle to identify what you're feeling. You just know you're off. This is sometimes linked to something called emotional suppression. And while it can help you function short-term, long-term, it increases internal stress. There's also the loneliness that comes with high-functioning exhaustion. People see your competence, not your cost. They see your reliability, not your strain. And because you're capable, they give you more responsibility, more expectations, more trust. And while that can feel validating, it can also feel isolating. Maybe you've been thinking, if I just push a little longer, things will calm down. But what if things don't calm down? What if life will always have demands? The deeper insight here is this: waiting for life to slow down before you rest might keep you waiting forever. You don't need permission from burnout to take care of yourself. Sometimes emotional exhaustion is tied to identity. Maybe you've built your sense of worth around being productive, helpful, or strong. So slowing down feels like losing who you are. If you're not the achiever, the caretaker, the fixer, then who are you? And the question can feel scary. But it can also be freeing, because you are more than your output. You are more than your usefulness. You are a human being with limits. And limits are not flaws. They're biological realities. Here's what psychology says. Self-worth that is conditional based on performance or approval creates chronic stress. When your nervous system believes love and acceptance depend on what you do, it stays in constant effort mode. That's exhausting. You might also notice changes in your relationships. Maybe you're less patient. Maybe you're more distant. But you secretly resent people who ask things of you, even if you care about them. That resentment isn't because you're selfish. It's often a sign you've been giving beyond your capacity. Resentment is a boundary alarm. It whispers, something needs to change. Around this point, it's helpful to gently ask yourself, when was the last time I felt truly rested? Not just physically, but emotionally. When was the last time I felt safe enough to fully relax? If you can't remember, that's not a failure. It's information. And while this video can't replace professional support, and if your exhaustion feels severe, persistent, or connected to deeper mental health struggles, reaching out to a licensed professional can make a real difference. It can help you start listening to yourself differently. So how do you begin refilling an emotionally drained system? First, reduce unnecessary emotional labor. Notice where you're over-explaining, over-apologizing, over-accommodating. You might not realize this, but small acts of self-abandonment add up. Practice shorter responses. Practice letting minor misunderstandings exist without fixing them immediately. Second, create predictable pockets of recovery. Your nervous system loves predictability. Maybe it's a nightly wind-down ritual. Maybe it's a weekly solo walk. Maybe it's 10 minutes of journaling. When your brain knows rest is coming, it begins to trust that it doesn't have to stay on high alert. Third, reconnect with your body. Emotional exhaustion often pulls you into your head, overthinking, analyzing, worrying. Gentle movement, stretching, or simply placing a hand over your chest and breathing slowly can ground you. Studies suggest that slow, controlled breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for rest and digestion. Fourth, practice self-validation. Instead of arguing with your feelings, try acknowledging them. This makes sense that I'm tired. I've been handling a lot. This may feel small, but emotionally it's powerful. Validation reduces internal conflict. Another important step is learning to differentiate between urgency and importance. When you're drained, everything feels urgent. But not everything is. It's pausing to ask, does this truly need my energy right now? Can protect your reserves. You might also need to grieve. Not necessarily something dramatic, but maybe the version of you that used to have more energy. Maybe the years you spent overextending. Maybe the fact that you can't be everything to everyone. Grief is not weakness, it's processing. And here's something deeply reassuring. Nervous systems can heal, can recalibrate. With consistent safety, boundaries, and care, your baseline can shift. It won't happen overnight, but small changes compound. There will still be hard days, days when you slip back into overdrive. That's okay. Change is not linear. The goal isn't perfection, it's awareness. Imagine speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. If they told you they were exhausted but still pushing through, would you call them lazy? Or would you tell them they deserve rest? Offer yourself that same gentleness. You are not meant to operate like a machine. You are not designed for endless output. Even machines overheat. And if part of you resists slowing down, that makes sense too. Slowing down might bring up emotions you've been outrunning. It might bring up sadness, anger, fear. That's why going gently matters. You don't have to unpack everything at once. You can start with one honest moment a day. One breath where you don't perform. One boundary where you protect your energy. One decision that prioritizes your well-being. Over time, these moments create a new pattern. A pattern where pushing through is not your only option. A pattern where rest is allowed before collapse. If you've been emotionally drained and still functioning, I want you to hear this clearly. Surviving is not the same as thriving. And you deserve more than survival. You deserve space. You deserve softness. You deserve support. If this topic stirred something deeper in you, if your exhaustion feels heavy, persistent, or connected to anxiety, depression, or trauma, it could be helpful to talk to a qualified mental health professional. Support is not a last resort. It's a resource. But even right now, in this moment, you can take a small step. Loosen your jaw, drop your shoulders, take one slow breath. You've been carrying a lot. Even if no one else sees it, your effort counts. Your tiredness makes sense. Your limits make sense. You are not weak for needing rest. You are human. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. What if the reason you're so tired isn't because you're doing life wrong, but because you've been doing it alone for too long? Not physically alone, maybe, but emotionally. Carrying things quietly, handling things privately, smiling through things silently. By now, you may recognize the exhaustion, the numbness, the irritability, the quiet resentment. But there's another layer to emotional drain that often goes unnoticed. It's the identity you've built around being the one who can handle it. Maybe you're the dependable friend, the responsible sibling, the calm coworker, the mature one. Somewhere along the way, you learned that being strong meant not needing much, not asking for help, not breaking down. So you adapted, became self-sufficient, hyper-capable, independent, to the point of isolation. You might not realize this, but hyper-independence can sometimes be a trauma response. When you've experienced disappointment, unpredictability, or emotional neglect in the past, your brain learns that relying on others feels risky. So you rely on yourself completely. And while that can look impressive from the outside, it can be incredibly lonely on the inside. Here's what psychology says. Humans are wired for connection. Our nervous systems regulate through safe relationships. When we consistently carry stress alone, our bodies stay in a heightened state longer. Support isn't weakness, it's biological regulation. Another sign you're still emotionally drained is that you've normalized stress. Say things like, that's just how life is. Everyone's tired, it's not that bad. And while it's true that life can be demanding, constant depletion is not the baseline you're meant to live in. Studies suggest that chronic stress, even at moderate levels, accumulates, sometimes called allostatic load, which simply means the wear and tear on your body from repeated adaptation to stress. You don't notice it all at once. It builds quietly. Because it builds slowly, you assume it's normal. You might also notice that you struggle to feel excited about the future. Not hopeless necessarily, it's just flat. The idea of new goals feels tiring. The idea of change feels overwhelming. That's often because your system is still trying to stabilize from the present. It doesn't have spare energy for dreaming. And yet you keep pushing. Maybe because slowing down feels like you'll fall apart. Maybe because you're afraid if you stop, everything you've been holding together will collapse. That fear is real. When you've been the glue for so long, letting go feels dangerous. But here's a gentle truth. If everything collapses the moment you rest, it was never meant to be held up by you alone. You might not realize this, but constantly operating at your limit shrinks your world. Start avoiding opportunities that require energy. Say no to experiences not because you don't care, but because you can't afford the cost. Your life becomes smaller, quieter, more contained. There's also the quiet grief of who you used to be. Maybe you remember a version of yourself that laughed more easily, that felt lighter, that had more patience. And you wonder where that person went. Emotional exhaustion can make you feel like you've lost yourself, but you haven't lost yourself. You've been protecting yourself. When the nervous system is overwhelmed for too long, it prioritizes survival over expansion. That means less curiosity, less play, less spontaneity. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means your system is trying to cope. Around this point, it's important to gently shift perspective again. Emotional exhaustion is not just something to fix. It's something to understand. What has your exhaustion been protecting you from feeling? Maybe it's disappointment. Maybe it's anger you never expressed. Maybe it's sadness you didn't have space to process. Sometimes staying busy is easier than feeling, okay? You might not realize this, but emotions that aren't processed don't disappear. They store themselves in the body, in tension, fatigue, and shutdown. When you finally slow down, those emotions can rise. That can feel scary, but it's also part of healing. Here's what psychology says. Emotional processing requires safety. If your life has been nonstop, your brain may not have felt safe enough to open those emotional files. That's why building small moments of safety matters so much. Safety might look like talking honestly with one trusted person. It might look like journaling your unfiltered thoughts without judgment. It might look like therapy, where there's structured support. And while this video can't replace professional help hand, if your exhaustion feels linked to deeper depression, anxiety, or trauma, reaching out to a licensed professional can be incredibly supportive. It can remind you that you're allowed to seek that help. Another layer of emotional drain is perfectionism. Maybe you set impossibly high standards for yourself. You feel like you're never doing enough. Even your rest has to be productive. You track it, optimize it, turn it into self-improvement. But studies suggest that perfectionism is strongly linked to burnout. When nothing feels good enough, your nervous system never relaxes. You're constantly chasing a moving target. And chasing is exhausting. You might not realize this, but sometimes the real fatigue isn't from doing too much. It's from trying to be too much, too available, too kind, too successful, too stable, too everything. What would it feel like to be just enough without earning it, just enough without proving it? There's also the role of unspoken resentment. Maybe you've been saying yes when you mean no. Maybe you've been overgiving in relationships that don't feel balanced. Maybe you've been tolerating dynamics that drain you. Resentment doesn't make you a bad person. It's information. It tells you where your needs are not being met. You might start by asking yourself, where do I feel the most drained? Is it work, family, social media, a specific relationship? Awareness creates choice. And ask, what would protecting my energy look like here? It might be a conversation. It might be a limit. It might be reducing exposure. It might be adjusting expectations. Another powerful step is redefining rest. Rest isn't only sleep. Rest can be emotional honesty. Rest can be saying, I don't have the capacity for that. Rest can be allowing yourself to be imperfect without spiraling. You might not realize this, but your nervous system learns through repetition. Every time you honor your limit, instead of overriding it, you teach your brain that you matter, that your needs are valid, that you're safe. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to being the strong one. People might be surprised when you set boundaries. That doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're changing a pattern. There will be moments of guilt, moments of doubt. It's normal. Growth often feels unfamiliar before it feels freeing. As you practice protecting your energy, something subtle begins to happen. You start feeling slightly less reactive, slightly more present, slightly more hopeful. Not because life is perfect, but because you're no longer abandoning yourself inside it. Healing emotional exhaustion is not about becoming endlessly positive. It's about becoming regulated, stable, supported. There will still be stress. There will still be responsibilities. But when your internal reserves are fuller, those demands don't feel like threats. They feel manageable. You deserve a life that doesn't constantly feel like endurance. You deserve relationships where you don't have to overperform to belong. You deserve rest without collapse. You've been pushing through for years. Change might feel slow. It's okay. Think in seasons, not days. Your system didn't become drained overnight. It won't refill overnight either. But every small act of self-respect counts. Every honest boundary counts. Every moment of self-compassion counts. And even now, as you're listening, there's something powerful happening. Becoming aware. Awareness is the beginning of change. Take a slow breath with me. Notice your body. Notice the part of you that kept going even when it was hard. That part deserves gratitude. It protected you. It carried you. But maybe now it's time to let it rest a little. You're allowed to soften. You're allowed to need. You're allowed to receive. If this series has resonated with you, it may be a sign that your exhaustion has been asking to be seen. And seeing it is not weakness, it's courage. You don't have to fix everything today. You don't have to become a new person overnight. Just start by being a little kinder to the one you already are. And if this resonated with you, you're not alone.